tonight we've got Jimmy Newson as our featured guest. I've known Jimmy for several years now, and very impressive gentleman who's doing great things in the digital space and really ahead of the curve in terms of really understanding how to use that to make an impact. He recently launched Moving Forward Small Business, looking to help 1 million small business owners be more successful. And now he flies out to London to speak at a conference. So he's a sought after speaker as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure we all can learn some useful stuff. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frazier. I thank you all for allowing me to speak to you today. The board, thank you as well. I'm looking forward to this. I like to make this interactive. I'm going to share my screen. I'm doing a kind of a watered down version of a presentation I do quite a bit called Using Email Marketing to Get More Wins. And the reason why I say it's watered down, there's still going to be a lot of great content. It's just not as much as I usually try to put out in a presentation because I want to make sure that I respect your time. I do have a link to the replay, which has the entire presentation with more resources. If anybody wants that, I'll share that at the end of this presentation as well. And I'm going to try to stay on as long as I can. I'm going to pull up the chat so I can see who's there. By just give me a W, a Y, or an N for yes or no if you're doing email marketing at this time. So I know where you stand. Okay, good. I got some Y's, I got some N's. Okay, looks like we're 50-50 at the moment. And there's a lot of important things to understand when it comes to email marketing. And you'll hear quite a bit that sometimes you hear everything from email marketing is dead, SEO, search engine optimization is dead. None of these tactics are going away. They're great ways of communicating with people. And even in a situation that we find ourselves in now, which includes this pandemic, digital became more important now than ever before. So it's important to understand it as best you can. Not that you have to do it, but that if you have to even hire someone to do it, whether it's internally or through a third-party provider, vendor, you understand what they're doing for you, because it can be a bit overwhelming. It can be a bit confusing, and there are some pros and cons to that. So I'm going to dive deep into quite a bit of this. So this is definitely more of an overview of email marketing, but hopefully you'll find some value. And if you ask questions, I'll definitely be able to dive in deep specifically to your case if you happen to be doing any type of email marketing. So I'll start by giving you a little bit more information about who I am. So I'm the founder of Moving Forward Small Business and Jimmy Newson Consulting. I'm also the senior advisor of the New York Marketing Association, which means I spend a lot of time talking to small businesses nationally as well as internationally. Some of the organizations I work with are SCORE, the Digital Marketing World Forum, which is bringing me to London, which I actually leave next week. And a funny story, things are so crazy. I had to get my passport renewed because, of course, the passport expired because someone was traveling. And now I live in New York, and it's so crazy trying to get passports. I literally have to fly to Denver to get my passport, fly back to London, and then jump wanting to go to London. So it's all kind of craziness going on, but we do what we have to do. I work with a lot of SaaS companies, which stands for Software as a Service. Moving Forward Small Business kind of is built on a platform of a three-legged platform, which is innovation, technology, and strategy, business strategy. And when a small business can leverage all three of those, they really have an opportunity to not only compete with who they would consider their competitors, but they can definitely take on bigger competitors, and in some cases, even national competitors. So this is what we try to look at doing, and giving you this information that really allows you to understand what you do have available to you and what the potential is for your business when it comes to having an online presence, just as well as an offline presence. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. And so for our agenda, here are some of the things we're going to cover: an email marketing overview, the pros and cons of email marketing, getting started with email marketing, tips for crafting your emails, a bad email versus a good email, best practices, next steps, and some additional resources. I will give you access to this slide deck, but again, I'll share a link at the end that actually has access to the entire slide deck as well. So let's talk about an email marketing overview. So an email marketing is the act of sending commercial messages, typically to a group of people using email. So not a one-on-one, it's one-on-many. In the broadest sense, every email sent is to a potential or current customer is considered email marketing. So even if you are sending one-on-ones directly to someone, that's still a form of email marketing because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not really emailing tons of friends. I text them, I call them. Everyone else that's on my email is usually some form of a connection in some way, and usually it's a business connection. Let me let in Denise here. There we go. All right. So who is this for? Who is email marketing for? Anyone with a product to sell, anyone with a service to sell, B2B and B2C businesses, and businesses with short and long sales cycle. And depending on the type of sales cycle you have will determine if you're using nurture sequences, if you're using abandoned cart type of structures or sequences. If someone visits the website and you actually have some automation set up where it can trigger an email to go out to them if they're already on your email. And we could do that through tools like a CRM, which we call a customer service management system. So there's so many different ways that you can leverage emails and you automate it. And when you're automating this system, it takes a lot of the pressure off of you. And at the end of the day, the objective of emails is to really be able to reach out and connect with potential prospects at the point where they're ready to buy. So you're not spending your time speaking to those who are not ready to buy. And that's where your email nurture sequence, we'll talk about a little bit later, really starts to come into play. So here's some pros and cons of email marketing. So one, it's very affordable. So it's definitely easy. All you need is your email campaign provider, which could be MailChimp, Constant Contact, Active Campaign. I'll give you a few of them. I'll tell you what my favorite one is. I'll tell you the ones I've used and what I think about them. You can reach and communicate with many people easily. You can track your efforts, which is important. It helps you build customer relationships. It's very customizable and it can be personalized, which is really what you want to be thinking about when you are sending these emails out, and how do you leverage these tools that we use to make sure that you are really diving in deep and making sure that you add some level of personalization to those emails, because believe it or not, people really think you're talking to them when you write it properly. And you are sending out blast emails. I remember once I sent an email to someone. It was part of a nurture sequence. I forgot I had written this sequence. And one of the emails at the end was, hey, I guess this is really not going to work out, for us. So I'm not going to email you anymore. Thanks a lot. I'm glad that you were able to gather some knowledge for me. Next thing you know, I get an email from this young lady, and she's apologizing for not responding to my early emails, which were all pre-set up. So it wasn't me emailing her myself per se. And she ended up being turning into a client of mine and I think she was a client for about 2 years in regards to working on, I believe we were doing some level of SEO, some basic SEO, local SEO. So these emails really work because I would have just given up on her anyway. But this email that I have set in a 6-part series kept her involved. It gave her a lot of insight. It gave her a lot of support. It gave her a lot of great resources. So she was digesting that content. And then she reached out to me to tell me that when can we start working together? So that's proof that this type of stuff works. And you can be very relevant with the content based on why they signed up to your list in the first place. So here are some of the cons of using email marketing. You can end up in the spam folder, and that sometimes that's based on the language you may be using, sometimes the characters you're using in the subject line. You may not be talking to the right audience. If you didn't prospect properly, you could be talking to someone who really doesn't care about what you do or what your services you offer, what products you have. It requires consistency. So if you are building some type of email list, if anyone here is doing any type of lead gen campaign, it's usually part of an email structured sequence. And so what you want to be doing is once they get on the list, That's where a lot of small businesses I see stop. Okay, I've gotten them on the list. Let me try to get more people on the list. And I go, when was the last time you emailed someone on that list? And it may have been 3 months ago. It may have been 6 months ago. Already that is too long. The moment someone gets on your email list, you need to immediately start to email them. And you need to set up a system that can email them things that are relevant based on why they signed up in the first place. Emails can seem impersonal, but at the end of the day, they still are very effective. So depending on how you put it together, it can seem impersonal. So we'll look at what a bad email looks like, and we can see how impersonal this email is. And again, it's also easy to unsubscribe. And the longer you wait to email someone who ends up on your email list, the quicker they will unsubscribe, because people forget that they signed up for stuff. And so you can be like, yeah, but you signed up for my list 2 months ago. They're not going to remember that. All they're going to do is go, I don't want this stuff. I don't know why I'm getting it. Spam, because you didn't spend enough time to start to build a relationship with them the moment that they signed up in the first place. Okay, so let's talk about getting started with email marketing. So of course, the first thing you need to do is determine what email marketing service provider are you going to use. And here are a few of them across the top. My favorite is ActiveCampaign. Now, I've used Aweber, I've used Constant Contact, I've used ConverseKit, I've used MailChimp, and the other two I'm very aware of. And there's a lot more out there than just the ones I have here, but I choose my tools based on a couple of things. One, I choose my tool based on the fact that it's what we call open source. That means that it can work with other tools I have, so I don't have to keep replacing tools every 2 or 3 years. So it integrates very well with other tools like Hubspot, which is my CRM provider, my website, which is built on WordPress. That doesn't mean the other ones can't, but you have to do your due diligence and really understand which one of these tools is going to be best for me. MailChimp is great for people starting off who's not doing any email marketing. Why? Because they have a free version and they've stepped their game up a bit. So you might start there. If you're looking for something a little bit more bells and whistles, then you go with an ActiveCampaign or Constant Contact or GetResponse. So you can see here that this is not relatively new, this chart, but you can see all the things on the left-hand side that you want to consider, depending on how aggressive you want to be with your email marketing. And there's a saying that says the money's in the list, and the list is the list that you're building. So when you take care of that list will take care of you, especially if you build it properly. Okay, so here's some things that you can do to immediately start collecting emails. We want to add opt-in forms to your highest performing landing pages. So one thing you want to be able to understand is, I have a website. What pages on my website get the most traffic? Because those are the pages you start with first to add email collectors on, so they can collect emails. And then what you want to really focus on is, what is this page about? Because I'll give you an example. If I sell t-shirts, okay, and you go to my page that has all these beautiful t-shirts, and then I offer you to get on my list, and I say, oh, get on my list so I can show you all the pants and shoes and hats and all these things, you're not being very relevant with the person based on the page they're on. What I would say is, hey, you want to see my spring collection of t-shirts and get a 15% off coupon on t-shirts, keeping the focus on the reason why they're there in the first place, that page, sign up now. The relevancy is a lot higher, which means your conversion rate to get that email would also be a lot higher. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense to you guys in the chat. Give me a Y for yes and for no. So you want to look at those pages that are already getting tons of traffic and just add an opportunity for you to funnel that traffic somewhere. I once we were working, when I was working with an agency, we picked up a really big client. They were a hardware store. They had 4 or 5 stores on Long Island. So as I did my audit, we found out that one of their pages, they were getting probably about 6,000 to 7,000 visitors a month to their website. It just so happens that one of their pages was getting half that traffic. They had a page that was getting 50% of that traffic. I went to that page. It was a blog post, and there was nothing for them to do other than read the article. So they read the article and they leave. So you may go, okay, that's what's so wrong with that? I go, if people are going to this page that's really relevant to why they're going, what they're looking for, you need to put an offer on that page. And you can either, if it's e-commerce, give them some relevant products that they can buy based on the topic of the page, or make sure you add a place where they can add their email so you can give them some information about, again, about products or services that are related to that. Because if not, they're hitting a brick wall and then they're bouncing and they go into someone else's site because you just educated them for free. So I hope that makes sense. So that's why you want to make sure there's an aligned opt-in form on the webpage. Once they sign up, depending on how they sign up, you want to make sure you craft an email that's specific to why they signed up. Hey, thanks a lot for signing up for this ebook. Here's your ebook, and then stay on topic. In this ebook, I'll be discussing some things with you about hair care. Okay, so even though I sell hair care products, I sell mascara, I sell lip balm, stay on focus with hair care, because that is the problem that they're searching for. So if you can continue to push them through that funnel and then help them solve that by selling them something or giving them some training or programming around hair care, now you're staying on focus with them. Hopefully they make a purchase. Now you can start talking to them about other things you do. You know, one mistake I see a lot of small businesses do, once they get you in the door, they start telling you everything they can do for you. And everything that you can do for them is not why they're there. Now you're just scaring them away. So you stay focused on why they're there. So things you can offer are checklists, resource guides, ebooks. These are all things that you can offer if you're doing email collection. You can share these offers on your social media channels. So you can post your emails that you're blasting out to your email list. I mean, to your social media platform through certain, when you're on, I know MailChimp can do it, ActiveCampaign can do it. You can run contests, giveaways, sweepstakes. You can host a webinar like this. This is a great opportunity when when we look at what has transpired over the last 2 years and even beyond that, we're all in a position to be content producers. When you're writing an email, you're a content producer. When you're producing anything on your website, you're a content producer. So you can push that stuff out, combine that stuff, create some type of webinar or something around that, and give people a deeper understanding of how they can understand this. Like if you read a blog post of me doing email marketing, it won't be as effective as you being on this webinar with me today. So these are all elements of things that you can do to start to build up your email list. And then, of course, you can do first-time offers for new subscribers. So, and we're not going to get deep into segmenting the audience on your email list, but that's something you would do in more of an advanced situation. Okay, so tips for crafting your email. All right, so let's say that they do sign up for your they sign up for your newsletter, or they sign up for an ebook you have, or they sign up for a webinar that you're producing, or any number of things. You immediately send out an email which basically reiterates that they signed up for something, and so you could just remind them. And you might even have them double opt in. If you want to be really safe, you have them double opt in. I don't necessarily have them double opt in when they initially sign up to my list. And the reason why is because sometimes most of them forget to double opt in. If they don't double opt in, they don't make it to your list. Action should have them confirm the email address. So either way, you can have them, and this could be one way to make sure you don't end up in the spam. If they sign up and this email comes to either the promotion tab, if they're using Gmail, or the update tab, tell them to move it to the priority tab, or whitelist your email. So your emails are a priority and they actually end up in where they can actually see them, instead of being buried with everybody else's promotional emails. Let them know what to expect. Tell them, hey, thanks a lot for signing up. Here's some things you can expect. I'll be emailing you maybe once every 2 weeks. I'll be emailing you once a month. I'll be emailing you every other day with this type of content that can help you achieve A, B, and C. So you're not leaving anything to chance. Marketing for me is about clarity. So when people try to be cute with messages and things like that, I personally think that's the wrong thing to do. I need people to fully understand exactly what I do and why I do it. If I leave anything up to chance, they will not get it. And just think about every time you read a text. Someone sends you a text, you're going to read it a certain way. And then when after 2 weeks of not talking to each other because you're mad at each other, one of you going to get on and finally bite the bullet and call the other person. And they're going to go, yeah, that text you sent me, blah, blah, blah. They're going to go, that's not what I meant in the text. Oh, well, I thought you meant this. No, I meant that. And that's the same thing that happens in any type of text. So be as clear as possible. And I'll rewrite a text 3 times just to make sure it's exactly what I wanted to say. So the most amount of people that read it will understand it and go, okay, I know exactly what this guy is trying to say to me. Okay. And you set expectations. So in that confirmation email, you really set it up for the future to let them know that you are going to be a valued resource to them moving forward. So they look forward to your emails instead of immediately hitting them with a sales email that says, hey, thanks a lot for signing up for my book. By the way, here's 8 things you can buy from me right now. And they're like, whoa, I just needed help with this one thing. So it's a slow process that you're going through. Okay. So you're sending a get started email. So the second email can be a get started email. And a get started email is sent after the confirmation, which was a separate type of email. Okay. And you may be sending something that you promised them. So if they opted in for something because of something, this is the email that you would include that asset, whether it was an ebook or a checklist or a calculator to calculate their mortgage or any of that stuff. You include that in here. And then you can invite them at this point to connect with you on social media. The key here is everything is a step-by-step process. So it's not like I got to tell them the moment I get their email, everything that they need to know about me. You take your time and you just start to get to know them. They start to get to know you. Think about it as dating. You date. Some of you may have been married for 30 years, so you might have to think back a little bit, but think back a little bit and think about it. Did you go in there telling all the aspirations of your relationships? Listen here, baby, I know we just met, but I'm thinking marriage in about 2 years, and I got this and no, you're going to be like, so what do you like? What do you do? Oh, you're getting to know them. That's what this is all about as well. You can send them a link to some of your best content, but only the content that is relevant to why they signed up to your list in the first place. So again, you're going to stay on topic until you can get them to take an action. It's very specific to the reason why they signed up in the first place. And then one thing that is that a lot of great marketers do is they'll even ask in that first email, what's the most pressing problem when it comes to a said topic? So now you can get some insight. Now this serves 2 purposes. 1, you can make sure that they signed up for the right reason. But 2, this is what we call data mining. So you can go, oh, I never realized that my audience had this problem. Now you know that you can go and start to create some content around that. Maybe you're going to add another email to the sequence that can address that because you're seeing that as a theme across the number of people that are signing up for this email item that you're using to get their email in the first place. Okay, so it is a bit there's a bit of work here, but the work is on the front end. And then it's kind of on autopilot. But what you're also doing is you're putting your focus on the fact that you need to watch, the open rates on these emails. You need to see if people are getting stuck at email 3. If everybody's hitting email 3 and not making it to email 3, there's a problem with email 3. You need to go in and fix it. So it's not a set it and forget it. Okay. All right. So you're sending. So now, we're at email. We did email 1, which is more of a confirmation. We did email 2, which is a getting started with my company, with me as an expert, with me as however you're classifying yourself or your business. That's the getting started with. Now you're going to start sending some emails, and this is all on autopilot. We call this a nurture sequence. Especially because they gave you their email. You need at least 5 to 7 touch points, and that could be a combination of all emails. It could be a combination of like 4 emails and 2 calls to their phone. It could be a number of different things that you can put together based on the tool you're using that will let you know that someone signed up. It's going to trigger email 1. In 2 days, it's going to trigger email 2. In 3 days, if they opened up email 1 and 2, I can give them a call. If they didn't open up email 1 and 2, then we're going to revert them over to a different email that might change up the messaging a little bit. Now, you're not going to get everybody as they come through here. There are definitely different conversion rates based on industry. Some industries have a 23% open rate, which is considered standard. Some have a 12% open rate. So you need to understand what industry am I in, and you can type in what is the email conversion open rate for businesses in the restaurant industry, in real estate, in IT, and you'll get that, and they'll say, your open rate is the standard open rate for your industry is 18%. So your open rate might actually be 25%, and you would think you were doing bad, but you're actually above average in your industry. Okay, so you keep the message consistent to why they're there. So in this 5-part email sequence, the objective is you want them to take some type of action by the end of this 6-part email. It could be to book a consultation with you. If you have a low-end product that's not expensive, it's to try out a product. Maybe it's to sign up for a free account for whether you're a bank or you're a software company. You can do a deep dive on a specific topic that they signed up for to really show your expertise and show you how you've helped others solve that problem. You're going to always include a call to action. And in most cases, you should only have one call to action in your email. Other than a couple of things like your social media handles, you should have one very strong call to action that tells them, what do you want them to do now that they've consumed the email? And then you want to try to keep it short if you can, depending on if you understand your audience. Now, I've gotten emails from people that are very long, but I expect that from them because of the type of lists I signed up for. So you got to really understand who your target audience is that's reading these emails. And do you want to keep them short, or do you want to actually give a little bit more context to the email? And sometimes you'll know better as you start to see that people are reading it and they're going through, great, I can add more content. Nope, they're not reading it and my bounce rate is super high. Let me cut back on the content. Okay. You can send case studies that are relevant to a client win. So this is further down. So they say this is email 4. Now you can start to go, I want to tell you a story about Lisa and the problem Lisa had. And again, on topic to why they started. And you can share that story with them because stories sell. And you could talk about how, what problem she had when she came to you, how you helped her, what was the end result, and then offer them an opportunity to go, I hope that this story was inspiring to you. Maybe I can help you. If you happen to be struggling with this too, definitely give me a call. Definitely book a 15-minute consultation. Definitely do this or do that. There's another call to action. So you're giving them great content. Here's a link to something that we wrote, or here's maybe it's a trust issue. PR has a horrible relationship with trust. People don't trust PR companies to do work because there's so much money that you have to spend with a PR company before you can say anything. So we have to get over that trust factor. So sometimes you have to think about what's the roadblock or the brick wall that most people who are not my client yet have with me or my industry, and let me address that and integrate that into there and let them know that this will not be a problem. Okay. You prep them for future offers. You're prepping them. You're getting them ready. You're priming them. You're getting them up. You're getting them ready. And then that final email is you're going to send an offer. So this could be email 5. Now, if someone never made it past email 2, they may never get email 5, but anyone that made it all the way to email 4 will get email 5. They're going further and further down the rabbit hole. You're building rapport with them. You're building experience with them. You're building authority with them. You're building trust with them. Now you can go, hey, if you're still having this problem, I think I have a solution for you. But all you need to do is take action today. How important is this to be solved for you? So you make a clear offer. You send it to only those that have been engaged. And this is where a tool like Active Campaign or MailChimp or Constant Contact will do all this heavy lifting for you. This is not you trying to figure out, well, am I supposed to send this email or am I not supposed to send this email? You're setting up rules in your system, or someone on your behalf is setting up these rules in your system. So it's being done automatically. So this is what happens when someone who doesn't get all the way to the end of your email. They end up kicked out of the email sequence and put in general population, what I call. So they're on your general email list because they didn't finish the sequence, because they didn't take the steps I wanted them to take. Does that mean that they're no longer any good to me? Absolutely not. Now, if I have if my email provider is integrated with my website, which yours should be, then the moment they hit my website, I could have a trigger that lets me know that, or at least lets my tool know that. And then depending on what actions they took on my website, I could actually re-trigger them and add them to a new sequence. So there's so many, and this is the power of technology and innovation. And then you couple that again, you bring it back to business strategy. And once you're doing these things, this is what the big guys and the big girls are doing. And this is where we as small business owners, we now have the ability to do because of tools like these email providers. The problem is we don't think that we can do this, and we absolutely can. It just requires some time. It requires energy, and it requires a level of commitment to do that. So you're making a clear offer. You're sending only to those who are engaged in the email so far. And why do I only want to send it to those that are engaged so far? Because if I'm sending my emails to people who are not engaged, eventually they can mark me as spam. Why? Because they don't remember that they signed up. And when they mark you as spam, that is bad for your your email reputation. And if you get marked too much on as spamming people, it will affect your delivery rate of your emails. And of course, you also end up in the spam bot. Okay. And we don't want that. So one thing I want to throw out there is when someone gives you, let's say you go to a conference or even like today, when we put our information into the chat and we've all added our email, that is not an invitation for anybody here to take all those emails and add them to their email list and start blasting them. That is the absolute worst thing you could possibly do. But you can take those emails and put them, say, in your Google, your Gmail or your Outlook, and email them directly and go, hey, it was great meeting you on that event. I'd love to stay connected with you. And you can either offer them an opportunity to join your list or download something that you may have written, and give them the opportunity to opt into something, a list of yours on their own. Or you keep the conversation one-on-one until there's an opportunity for them to actually want to sign up to your list. But do not add them to a marketing list without their permission. Just because they put their email address in this or gave you the business card at a live event is not an invitation for you to add them. So these are things that you want to look at moving forward, because it will negatively affect your reputation online. Okay, so let's look at a bad email versus a good email. So here's a bad email. So I'm going to walk you through these 10 points. Number one, it's a generic subject line, 40% off products. Has nothing to do with value. It's your value to them. There's no value that they're getting from that. Two, don't let recipients send a return reply email. So it says no reply at hubspot.com. You got to give them ability to be able to respond back to the email so they know they're talking to a human. Three, they're using an unsophisticated design. So that whole Hannah's monkey wrenches is just that crappy type, the graphic text stuff. Get rid of that. It's either a plain email, which I prefer in most cases, a plain text email, or if you're going to produce a high quality email, produce one and stick with the format when you send your emails out, so that becomes part of your branding. Four, don't check for broken dynamic content. And that says, dear first name, last name. Always send an email, when you finish writing your email, your tool should give you the ability to send a test to yourself. Always send a test to yourself. Every time you make a change to an email, send a test to yourself, check all the email, check all the links, make sure everything looks great before you blast your list. There's nothing worse than going, hey, we forgot the link, or it didn't say the right name and we're sending you the updated version. It's embarrassing. Okay. Five, write engine, I can't even say the word, but you want to make sure that the content is just relevant and it's coming from the heart, if anything. Six, you're including your least remarkable content. So you're going, hey, we got hammers, lawnmowers, screwdrivers, beef it up a little bit, make it more relevant. You're using generic images. Seven. Number eight, you're using images that don't display correctly. Now, you're not going to know this unless you send the test email to yourself and you see that an image didn't load. Okay. Number 9, you're not using a call to action. You're just going right with have a great day, regards, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't mean you put one in an email to someone, if it's one-on-one, but if you're sending out a blast email on your email provider, there needs to be a strong call to action. And then 2, you're not permitting the recipient to unsubscribe. You cannot remove the unsubscribe on the email because that's part of the law, the canned spam law, is there has to be a very relevant place for them to see that they can unsubscribe if they don't want to get your emails anymore. Okay, so now here's what a good looking email should look like. 1, you got a clear, concise, and attention grabbing headline. Okay, new ebook, 25 must-haves for a great website. Okay, there's some value there, and people are like, wow, this is incredible. How would you flip that 40% off? Well, 40% off of what? So talk about the tool, and so you can still include in there that it's 40% off, but give them a reason to be excited about what it is. Okay. 2, a real life human sender. So use a name of someone, Jessica at Hubspot, even if you have to make one up. I actually have made up a couple of people just so their names sometimes when I don't want to use my own name in the email because I don't want to be inundated with a ton of emails. And sometimes I use that to segment out my audiences. So I might create one with Eric and one with Lisa at movingforwardsmallbusiness.com if I don't have someone that we want to dedicate to that specific campaign. Okay. 3, make the branding obvious. So if you are going to go with design versus plain text emails, you got your logo there. So integrate it, make it look professional. 4, personalize it. Hi, Pamela. So sometimes people go, well, what information should I collect when people want to when I want to collect emails? The basics is first name and email address. Okay. If you get those 2, that's the highest conversions that you can possibly get. If you start asking for the last name and where they work and, the baby's first name, you're going to have less people opting in. But on the flip side, the quality of the lead is higher. So usually at the top of the funnel, I usually only want their first name and an email. But if at the bottom of the funnel, for say a case study or a pricing sheet or a free trial, I'll ask for more data because obviously at that point, they made a decision that they kind of want this thing from me. So they're willing to give me more, and then it gives me more an opportunity to see what they have. Okay. 5, offer context. So make sure you add a little context to what this thing is about. Number 6, you got an obvious call to action. Download the ebook now. As simple as that sounds, people will not do that. They'll go click here. No, you make it descriptive. Download the ebook now. Get the 25 great website must-haves now. So they go, bam, yes, because I want it. Offer value. Make sure if you're using images, make sure they're great, high quality images. You can add some other things to it if you want to. But again, the objective here is for them to download the ebook. So I would even remove some of this stuff here and then have a nice looking at the end, kind of like at the bottom, number 4, you're seeing man, it's hot in this room. Let me have a drink of water here real quick. You're seeing a nice signature. People buy from people, not companies. So if you can leverage yourself or someone in your company, it creates a better relationship that they're actually talking to an individual. And this is what can personalize something that can seem not personal. Okay. So those are just a few things. So here's some best practices. 1, use a reputable email service provider. 2, never add people to your list without permission. We talked about that earlier. 3, you need to choose between a double opt-in versus a single opt-in. A double opt-in is more secure, and the email providers like that. But if you do do a double opt-in, that means that they sign up for your list and then they have to get an email and confirm. That's a double opt-in. Sometimes people forget to do that and then they don't end up on your list. So you might just go with a single opt-in. I mean, the moment they sign up on your website or whatever landing page you're using, they automatically get added to the list and you can start the campaign. You can trigger the email nurture sequence. Use dedicated landing pages for higher conversions. So I always say, if you want to confuse someone, send them to the homepage, because the homepage has so much stuff that people can get lost and forget why they're there and go off on a tangent. But if you are using some type of lead gen opportunity to get emails, say an ebook or a coupon or something, drive them to a landing page that you built specifically for the offer so they can take advantage of the offer, get the email, then you start the communication with other things. So you can keep the confusion down and keep the distractions down. Make sure there's an easy way for them to unsubscribe. And most of these email providers do a great job of putting it in the footer, so you don't even have to touch it anymore. It's just part of the template you might be using. And this is a big one. Do not buy email list. I know people call all the time. Hey, we've got over 500 email list of people looking for homes in the California area. Hey, we've got I'm a service provider. We've got a list of 800 small businesses that could use your services. Do not buy that list, because you're going to try to put those people on your list and you're going to get a huge amount of spam hit on your site, and it will again damage your reputation. They didn't sign up for you. They don't know who you are. They didn't ask for your help. They need to make that decision on their own. So you have to do your due diligence to create content that's relevant enough for them to want to sign up for your list to get that information and that content. So I do have templates I'm going to share a link with you guys, like I said, that has the full ones, because I just gave you the overview. I do go into more emails that to show you good and bad emails, whether it's e-commerce or brick and mortar stores, but we don't have time for that today. And I also have a 6-part email sequence that you can actually use. And I would say, if you're going to use that 6-part email template, add your content to it, and then go back and rewrite the whole thing so it's relevant to you and your business. And with that, I'll say thank you. So let me ask you if you have any questions. I guess that would be a good thing to say.
Hi, Jimmy. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you for your presentation. Can you actually pull the slides back up? Because I was going to ask you about a question on the next to last slide when you were doing the, I think,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do that.
So I kind of got lost after number 4, where you had personalized the email, and then
is it one of these?
Yeah, yeah.
This one or
no,
that
no,
one?
that one. Yes,
this one here.
One.
Yes.
No, the other one.
Oh,
the other
okay.
One. Yes. Yep. What was like the point of the download the ebook now?
Number 6, it's an obvious and focused call to action. So sometimes I'll put a button in there, and then I'll link the button, but I'll still put the text under the button. And why do I do that? Because sometimes you can choose not to show images on your in your email. So sometimes they'll go, hey, do you want to show the images? And if they don't show the images, then it'll revert to text. And if you used an image as a download button, then they won't know that there's a download there, because it can't show the image. So that's why I still add text on top of that. So that's specific. So that's just a hyperlink to the ebook, because they've already opted in. So they've already given you an email. Now you're delivering them the goods.
Okay, the call to action. Okay. And then just briefly go over 7, 8, 9. I'm so sorry.
Sure. Yeah. 7. It's an explanation and a value of the offer. So here's your complimentary 52 book. So you're just keeping them excited. And this is where everybody gets a little like, oh my God, what am I going to put in the ebook? What am I going to put in the email? You put in the email exactly what the ebook does, or the offer does. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You're just always going to keep reiterating. Mm-hmm. This is what it is in it. So this here could literally be on the landing page, and you just lift it off the landing page and put it in the email. So they keep going. So they go, oh yeah, I remember.
Right.
Okay. So that's 7. 8 is you got your social sharing button. So they put it to the top right. I usually put it near the bottom above the signature that says, hey, connect with me or share this on social media. And so you can set that up inside your email provider and with whatever you use to, whatever platforms you would like them to share it on. Okay. So they use share it. Sometimes I'll just use connect with me. Why? Because I want the relationship more sometimes than I want them to share it. So they can, now I know they're following me. Now I got them for life, as long as, of course, Facebook doesn't MySpace us and disappear, if you know MySpace. And then 9 is if you're using an image, just make sure you got a nice looking image on in additional imagery, so it doesn't look cheesy.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great.
Who's next?
I have a question. This is Mary. So, if you do not want to do all of this, right? I'm not interested in doing all this. I'd rather hire someone
Absolutely.
to do all this stuff for me, right? Because I just don't have the time and I'm just not as creative. What is your suggestion, or how do you feel about having someone else do it for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I kind of alluded to that earlier, where I said it's not that you have to do this.
Okay.
You just need to understand it, so someone else could, so you can have a better relationship with someone you need to hire. So some of the, freelancers are on the rise. Upwork, Fiverr, any of these places. Those are, now what happens there is you get what you pay for. And that's where now the more the easier it is to communicate with them. People will go, I had horrible experiences on Fiverr, I had horrible experiences on Upwork. And the problem is really not the provider, the service provider. It was your instructions.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So, and that's why the more you can understand, because they're only going to do what you tell them to. So that you're going to go, I want this. They're going to go, yes. And they're going to go, and I want it in green. They're going to go, yes. But they're not really going to offer you, well, maybe you should do it in blue because that's not what they're being paid for. So the other thing is, now you may look for, you could look for a freelancer. You could also look for someone, not necessarily a freelancer, but a VA that focuses more, that might work 20 or 30 hours for you. So they get to know your business better, and then they become a better opportunity. I have VAs. I have one that's been with me for 6 years and out of the Philippines, and she's amazing. She's better than me. I used to do graphic design, and when I got a hold of her, I'm like, I'm never doing graphic design again. And and she's very affordable, and she knows my business. Sometimes I'm the only one she's working with the whole month. Sometimes she may be working 2 or 3 people. So that's the alternative to working with a freelancer. And then of course you can hire an agency, and an agency is going to be a lot more expensive.
Okay.
But it all depends on, well, what level of you are you with your business, because some agencies can run you $500 for services. Some can run you $2,000 for services, depending on the type of clients that they pick up. And some won't touch you if you're not making enough money.
Right. Okay. Great. And so where do you find VAs, reliable VAs? How do you find?
The company I used was called online.ph. That was where I picked up mine that I love. They're out of the Philippines, but you can just type in VAs, online VA in social, Google is our friend.
Right.
The key is we just got to do we have to do some time. It's like hiring. It is a process. So what is your process in trying to find, VAs? Just the same as if you had to hire someone to be an actual employee.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great
Absolutely.
information. Great information.
Jimmy, I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
So over the last 20 years, 30 years, I've dealt with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, and cash is always a major concern, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm going to sound old here, but back in the day, when you would advertise, a customer would walk in with a coupon or something. So the conversion was easy. Years ago, I sold advertising. When you said MySpace, I laughed because I was with Bell Atlantic and Verizon, and our online partner was AOL, and it moved, and we thought we were the hot thing because it moved to MySpace. So I get you. But when SEO came out and all kinds of search engine marketing, things like that, it was very hard for a small business owner to put out $5,000 or $10,000 and not have somebody walk in with a coupon, because he couldn't tell where the conversion came from. Even if he got sales at the time, it was very hard for us to tag that $5,000 sale to the SEO program that we put in for them that covered Middlesex, Somerset, and Mercer counties. The conversion. So has it gotten any better?
Absolutely.
Is it easier? I mean, do you understand what my question is? It was so easy. And a lot of the mature businesses, you know, they depended on, you know, all the old things. And when they stepped into this new genre, you know, it was always very hard to compare the two, to put pen to paper.
Yeah, and yeah, no worries. A great question. And I actually think the opposite. It's easier to track digital than it is to track analog. The analog is your TV commercials, your radio spots, things like that, because there are tools that you can integrate on your website. You know, you're talking Google Analytics, you're talking Google Search Console, and just like you said, that coupon online needs to have either a hashtag or some type of code that they either use to redeem it online, or they print it and they bring it in and it still has the code that's targeted to that page.
So it's fundamentally the same.
So it's fundamentally the same. And that's where again, I talked about the hard work is up front, making sure you set it up properly in the first place. I'll give you a prime example of what I'm doing. So I'm about to pitch a sponsorship for a program that I'm putting together for one of my sponsors. And I decided for the first time, because I got this inside win from reading this ebook, that I'm going to allow them to put a tracking cookie on the landing page, not on my website, but on the landing page, which now gives me the ability to charge more. But now they can use that tracking to see what traffic I can give them. So now I don't have to give them a report. They're just going to have that information. Now they can see how many people came to there, and depending on where they drive that traffic, was there a conversion? Did they get an email? Did they get a sale? Did they get this or that? And they can track that in real time. And now my hands are clean. So there are so many ways that you can do this. It just requires a little bit of knowledge, and then asking the right question to the right person and going, hey, can I do this? And someone's going to tell you, you can, and here's how it was done.
That's the key. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
This is some great information. Thank you so much.
It's absolutely my pleasure. And that's what I like about this, because like Andrew said, I deal with HubSpot. I deal with Active Campaign. So when I have problems, I go directly to them. And I usually go directly to them sometimes on the behalf of my clients. And every time my clients have a problem, I go, ooh, a new solution. I look at that as a win, because now I can come up with some content around that. So at the end of the day, you look at what your clients are asking you for, and you're like, here's an opportunity to create something that I can use either in my email sequence, because obviously if they're asking it, someone else is asking it. There's so many different places you can turn to add great content and come up with even more content, because the answer sometimes is always right in front of your face.
Okay, now that you just mentioned about content, do you find that the newer technology, meaning artificial intelligence and so on, has helped it so that the individual users can do more themselves these days, or is it still something that they should, farm out to somebody else?
I think it is ready. I use AI and machine learning daily to write for my clients and for me. It makes me a better writer. If you don't have a huge budget, so I'll give you a tool right now I'm using that anyone can use. It's called Anyword.ai. Let me make sure that's correct. Anyword.
I think that is right. Yeah.
Anyword.com. I'm sorry. Anyword.com. I replaced 7 writers with a $99 a month program thing on here. What you do is say when you know what you want to write about, and you can write emails, you can write pretty much anything. I think they have a free version. So yeah, they do have a free version, but it's very limited. So you could test it out. So let's say I decide I want to write about automobiles, and I have a general idea, and I want to be specific. So I want to write about autonomous cars. I can type in, I want a blog post about autonomous cars, drop in a few keywords, and then it'll start to, based on as much as I feed into it, it'll start with a title, give me a title, and it'll rate the title. It'll say this out of this title is an 89. This is an 85. This is an 82. And depending on if that title is relevant to you, you're like, yeah. Now what that number means is that this is out of 100. This is going to get some clicks. Now from that, if you say you like that, now it's going to generate an outline for you. And you can keep regenerating that outline until you find the outline you're looking for. You like that, bam, you move to the next part, they write an opening paragraph. The AI is real.
Wow.
And I'll knock out 25 blogs in one day. And it'll be across 6 clients. Now, I still got to use some brain power. So, and I'll steer the article. But even if you know your industry very well, so you'd be able to do that. And now you're creating content. So you can choose to write an email like that. You can choose a blog post. You can choose a social media post. Is AI tools and this again brings back that innovation and technology. These tools are available today and they're not expensive. And if you're the one going to do the work, then it's worth it. Or you can bring on a VA and go, I need 16 blog posts a month, and you feed her or him the overall strategy. And then so now they got this structure they can work within to make sure that you get back what you need, so you don't have to spend your time fixing what may not be correct. So that's where the balance has to come in.
Oh, wow.
I have a quick question, Jimmy.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier in the presentation about eliminating roadblocks and brick walls when you get in your leads so that they can move forward. Can you give an example of that?
Yeah. So, and that was in relationship to the fact that you now can see that certain pages on your website are getting lots of traffic. So you would go to your Google Analytics and it'll show you your top pages that are getting traffic. So you want to visit those pages and go, all right, if I landed on this page and I read this content, is it obvious the next step? And if it's not obvious to you, then it's not going to be obvious to anybody else. Now, to eliminate that roadblock, you have to go, well, what would be the obvious upsell? You should never write a piece of content for your website unless it can be tied back to a product or service, period. Now, what does that mean? So you go, well, I might run out of content to write about. No, if you write about, if your business has a purpose, a vision, and a mission, and this is something that Wistia, which is a video software platform, said, when you write content and you create content based around your vision, your purpose, your mission, you'll never run out of content, because your purpose and vision and mission is the big picture. And let's take, for example, a car. When you see these car commercials, they're not necessarily advertising the car. They're advertising everything you can do with the car. Go on vacation, girls' night out, first date. And that first date is for anybody who's going on a first date, and they're like, and they connect with the story, but then it relates back to the car. So now I could talk a little bit about why you want to get this car, because this car is safe, because if you're on a first date, you're probably young. You're probably, you're just now trying to experience love. So, and now I can make an offer because I have a product that I can somehow tie back to the story or the blog post. So in the instance of the client that we got, it was a product, it was something around some type of hardware that they needed for the yard. And they had nothing there. It was just a blog post that did a great job of explaining, doing some work in the yard. The call to action should have been, here's the top six tools that you need to have when working in your yard. Now they're like, oh, yeah, I need those. Why? Because I'm already reading a blog post about that. And now I open up the bottleneck. Now, not everybody's going to buy it, but now I got, even if I had a 5 or 10% conversion rate, that's a lot of sales that I wasn't making before.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so that's where those are what we call easy wins. That's low hanging fruit. You're already getting the traffic. But if you're not paying attention to your analytics, you're not going to know that you're losing out somewhere. So regardless if it's your email provider, your email database, I mean, the analytics for your emails that you're sending out, or the analytics going to your website, all of this stuff at some point interacts with each other somewhere. and there's always opportunities for improvement. So for me, think about this. If anybody here was just brick and mortar, the problem that a lot of brick and mortar businesses had when the pandemic originally came on was they relied on foot traffic. They relied on word of mouth. All of that was dead.
Right.
And next thing you know, I got people calling me up. Hey, can we get online tomorrow? Yeah, you can get online tomorrow, but it ain't going to do you any good because now you need to build up that authority.
Right.
So when do you start doing this stuff? Today. When will you benefit from it? Depends on how much you're doing and how much resource you can dedicate to it. So even if it's a little bit, it's worth it to do this because, you know, we thought we were going to open back up in January. And what happened? Started closing back down again. So as much as people want to open back up, of course I did. But the reality is we live in a hybrid world. Hybrid world, you still want to focus on what you can get locally, but hybrid, I have clients all over the world. I have people I've never spoken to that buy from me. And that's because I have enough content out there now that it doesn't matter, you know, and I just keep putting content out there, but this was a process that took years to build. There are certain things you can do to move the needle quickly. And then there's things that will take a long time, but will be worth it at the end.
Awesome.
So I'm open. You guys have questions, you're more than welcome to email me. You know, I hope to be back to talk a little bit more, to dive deeper into some other stuff. Andrew is my boy. He's like, we're like this. We do a lot of stuff together. So, you know, when he asked me to come, I was like, absolutely. You know, I do see a huge gap in I spend a lot of time everywhere. And I see, you know, and we sometimes get the short end of the stick. And when I say we, I'm talking about, you know, BIPOC, sometimes we're getting information that's 5 years old. And in technology terms, it's no longer good. We need to hear what is really happening right now so we can benefit from it. It's not difficult. It's just not being able to being in the right place to hear it, if that makes sense. So, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. I need to get this information to as many people as possible so you can grow your businesses.
Wonderful. I would actually say, I don't know how many, if there's other questions for Jimmy or not, but did you send the link that you were referring to?
Yeah, let me do that now. Let me drop that in here. So this is the full presentation and there are a couple of resources on there. So I just dropped it into the chat.
Great.
But yeah, it's this. I'm very passionate about this stuff, if you can't tell. And I'm just glad that marketing is what I went into after I left. I was originally in entertainment industry and went into marketing.
Oh wow, great!
Okay,
Absolutely.
so there we go. Another great presentation, Jimmy. Thank you so much. It was
Yes, thank you so much.